The crystal glass shattered against the marble floor, sending shards skittering across my daughter's bare feet. Blood mixed with spilled wine as Sarah stood there frozen, her hands still extended where she'd reached for the water pitcher. "I said no water!" My voice echoed through the dining room, silencing the Christmas carols playing softly in the background. 23 family members stared at me, their forks suspended mid-air, mouths agape. But I didn't care. This was my house, my rules. Sarah's eyes welled with tears as she looked down at her bleeding foot. "Mom, I just wanted—" "Get out!" The words came out colder than the December wind rattling our windows. "You're not welcome at this table anymore." That was 3 years ago. 3 years since I banished my own daughter from our family Christmas. 3 years since I let my pride destroy everything that mattered. And now? Now I'm sitting in a hospital bed, tubes running through my arms, begging the universe for one more chance to make things right. Because the daughter I threw away? She's the only one who can save my life. Life wasn't always this bitter. There was a time when Sarah and I were inseparable. 2 peas in a pod, as my mother used to say. After her father walked out when she was 7, it was just us against the world. I worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table. Waitressing during breakfast at Mel's Diner, where the smell of bacon grease permanently clung to my hair. Cleaning offices in the afternoon, my knees bruised from scrubbing floors that executives would dirty again within hours. Stocking shelves at night at the local grocery store, my back screaming as I lifted boxes that seemed to get heavier with each passing year. My hands were permanently stained with bleach and grease, my fingernails cracked and yellowed despite my best efforts to keep them clean. But I wore those stains like badges of honour. Everything I did was for Sarah. She was brilliant. The kind of child who read encyclopedias for fun and corrected her teacher's grammar. While other kids played video games, Sarah built robots from spare parts she found at garage sales. Her bedroom walls were covered with academic achievement certificates and science fair ribbons. First place in the regional spelling bee. Grand prize at the state science fair for her water filtration project. Oh, the irony of that now. "Mom, when I grow up, I'm going to be a doctor," she'd tell me every night as I tucked her in, her small face serious with determination. "And I'll buy you a big house where you never have to work again. You'll have a maid to clean for you and a chef to cook, and you can just relax and read books all day." I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. I'd kiss her forehead, inhaling the sweet scent of her strawberry shampoo, and whisper, "I know you will, baby. You're going to be the best doctor this world has ever seen." But somewhere along the way, that belief turned into expectation, and expectation became demand. By the time Sarah hit high school, I wasn't just hoping for her success. I was requiring it. Every B+ was a failure. Every moment spent with friends was time wasted. Every interest outside of academics was a distraction. "You think I'm breaking my back for you to throw your future away?" I'd scream when she asked to go to a movie with classmates. "You want to end up like me? Scrubbing toilets until your knees give out? Serving coffee to people who look through you like you're invisible?" Sarah would retreat to her room, and I'd hear her crying through the thin walls of our cramped apartment. But I convinced myself those tears were necessary. Tough love, I called it. She'd thank me someday when she was walking across that Harvard Medical School stage. I monitored her homework like a hawk, sitting beside her at our wobbly kitchen table until midnight, sometimes later. If she got a 96 on a test, I'd demand to know what happened to the other 4 points. When she won second place in the science fair junior year, I made her redo the entire project. "Second place is first loser," I told her, watching her face crumble. "Is that what you want to be? A loser?" My sister Maria tried to warn me once. "Linda, you're pushing her too hard. She's just a kid." "She's not just a kid," I snapped back. "She's my kid, and she's going to be somebody. Unlike us." The cracks started showing during Sarah's senior year. She'd been accepted to Harvard, full scholarship, pre-med track, everything we'd dreamed of. The acceptance letter had arrived on a Tuesday. I remember because I'd taken the day off work, the first time in 2 years, just to wait for the mail. When that crimson envelope arrived, I fell to my knees in our apartment hallway, sobbing with relief. All those years of sacrifice, all those nights of screaming matches over grades, all those missed school plays and soccer games because academics came first. It had all been worth it. But the night before graduation, I found her acceptance letter in the trash, torn into pieces. "What is this?" I demanded, bursting into her room with the fragments clutched in my fist. The edges of the paper cut into my palm, but I didn't care. Sarah looked up from her laptop, dark circles under her eyes. She'd lost weight that year, her cheekbones sharp under her skin. "I'm not going to Harvard, Mom." The words hit me like a physical blow. The room spun. "Excuse me?" I accepted an offer from the State University instead. They have an excellent engineering program, and engineering? I threw the paper pieces at her. They fluttered down like crimson snow, a mockery of everything I'd worked for. "You're going to throw away Harvard for engineering? It's what I want to do." Sarah stood up, matching my volume for the first time in her life. "I've never wanted to be a doctor. That was your dream. I'm not mine. My dream was for you to have a better life than me." "No, your dream was to live through me, to parade me around like some trophy to prove you were a good mother." The slap came before I could stop it. My palm connected with her cheek, leaving a red mark that would fade in hours, but a wound that would last years. The sound echoed in the small room, followed by a silence so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. Sarah touched her face, tears streaming. "I'm still going to college, Mom. I'm still going to make something of myself. Why isn't that enough?" "Because enough doesn't exist in this world." I spat, my hand stinging from the slap. "You're either the best, or you're nothing. And I didn't sacrifice everything for you to be nothing." "You sacrificed everything?" Sarah's voice was quiet now, dangerous. "What about what I sacrificed? My childhood, my friends, my dreams? I wanted to build things, Mom. Create things. Help people have clean water, sustainable energy. But that was never good enough for you, was it? Don't be dramatic. You can help people as a doctor." "I don't want to be a doctor!" She screamed it so loud the windows rattled. "I hate biology. I faint at the sight of blood. But you never asked me what I wanted. You just decided my life for me before I could even spell my own name." I stared at her, this stranger wearing my daughter's face. When had she become so defiant? Where was my obedient little girl who hung on my every word? "If you go to state school," I said slowly, each word deliberate, "don't bother coming home. I won't support this rebellion." Sarah laughed, but it was bitter, hollow. "When have you ever supported me, Mom? Really supported me, not your version of me?" She was wrong. Everything I'd done had been support. Every sacrifice, every push, every demand for excellence, all of it was support. But he was too young, too foolish to see it. "Get out," I said. "If you want to throw your life away, you won't do it under my roof." "Fine." Sarah started packing, throwing clothes into a duffel bag with shaking hands. "You know what the saddest part is? I got into MIT too, for engineering. But I chose state school because they offered me a research position working on water purification systems for developing countries. I wanted to tell you, to share my excitement, but you never gave me the chance." MIT. The word hit me like a second slap, but my pride was a wall too high to climb over. MIT, Harvard. "It doesn't matter if you're not going to be a doctor," I said, my voice ice. "You're choosing to be ordinary. Mediocre. Everything I fought against." Sarah zipped her bag and headed for the door. At the threshold, she turned back. "You know what, Mum? You're right about one thing. I am choosing. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing. And I choose to be happy." Before we dive into the most shocking part of this story, I have a small request. We're on a journey to reach 1,000 subscribers, and without your support, it won't be possible. Please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Here's a question for you. Have you ever had expectations placed on you that felt impossible to meet? How did you handle it? Did you conform or choose your own path? And trust me, you don't want to miss the turning point coming up next. The water incident at Christmas? That was just the beginning of my downfall. Now let's get back to the story. Sarah went to State University despite my protests. I refused to help with move-in day, didn't call to check on her, and deleted her texts unread. If she wanted to throw her life away, she could do it without my blessing. But I couldn't let go completely. Every family gathering became an opportunity to voice my disappointment. Sarah's at state school, I'd announced to relatives, my tone dripping with disdain. Studying engineering of all things, as if the world needs another person building bridges. My sister Maria would shift uncomfortably. Linda, engineering is a respectable profession. Respectable? I'd cut her off. She could have been a Harvard doctor, a surgeon, someone who matters. Instead, she's playing with pipes and wires like a glorified plumber. The Christmas dinner 3 years ago was supposed to be different. Sarah had graduated with honours, landed a job at a prestigious firm. She'd even bought a house, small, but hers. Part of me wanted to reconcile, to admit I'd been wrong, but that part was buried under 20 years of pride and bitterness. I'd spent days preparing for that dinner. The good china came out, the crystal glasses that had belonged to my mother. I'd cooked for 2 days straight, turkey with all the fixings, 3 kinds of pie, homemade rolls. Everything had to be perfect. Even if my daughter had chosen imperfection, my dinner table would not reflect her failures. Sarah arrived wearing a simple black dress, her hair pulled back professionally. She looked successful, confident, everything I'd wanted her to be, just not in the way I'd imagined. She carried herself differently now, with a quiet authority that made me inexplicably angry. "Hi, Mum," she said softly, holding out a wrapped gift. "Merry Christmas." I took the gift without meeting her eyes, feeling its weight. "Sit wherever." She chose a seat near the middle of the table, not at my right hand where she used to sit as a child. The distance felt deliberate. The dinner progressed with forced small talk. Sarah tried to engage, complimenting the food, asking about family members. She told my cousin Janet about her work, something about developing sustainable water systems for rural communities. Janet seemed impressed, asking questions, but every word from Sarah's mute irritated me. Who was she to act so composed, so satisfied with her choices? "That sounds wonderful, Sarah," Janet gushed. "You must be so proud, Linda." "Proud?" I set down my fork with deliberate precision. "Of what? That she gave up Harvard to play in the dirt?" The table went quiet. Sarah's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice level. "I'm helping provide clean water to communities that have never had it, Mum. Children who were dying from waterborne diseases now have a chance at life." "How noble," I said, my voice dripping sarcasm. "I'm sure those children are very grateful that you threw away Harvard Medical School." "Mum, please." "Don't, Mum, please me. Do you know what I would have given for the opportunities you threw away? Do you know how many toilets I've scrubbed, thinking about how my daughter was going to be different?" Then came the water incident. Sarah reached for the crystal pitcher in the centre of the table. Such a simple gesture. Her fingers had barely grazed the handle when something inside me snapped. "Don't touch that," I said sharply. She paused, confused. "I'm just getting some water, Mum." I said don't touch it. That picture was a gift from someone who actually achieved something meaningful with their life. The lie came easily. The picture was from Goodwill, bought with tips from a particularly grueling double shift, but in that moment, I wanted to hurt her. The table went silent. Sarah's hand trembled. "Mom, please. Not tonight. It's Christmas." "You want water? There's a garden hose outside. That's more your level anyway. State school engineer. Isn't that what you work with? Water. Pipes." My brother Tom tried to intervene. "Linda, come on. Stay out of this, Tom. This is between me and my daughter. Oh, wait, I forgot. She's not my daughter anymore. My daughter was going to be a doctor." Sarah stood slowly, dignity intact despite my cruelty. "You know what? You're right. I don't belong here." He reached for the pitcher one more time, maybe out of defiance, maybe just thirst. That's when I grabbed it first and threw it to the ground. The crash was deafening. Crystal exploded across the floor like frozen tears. A large shard caught Sarah's foot, slicing through her thin ballet flat and into her skin. Blood immediately began pooling on my white carpet, spreading like spilled wine. "Get out!" I screamed, standing so fast my chair toppled backward. "You're not welcome here! Not at Christmas, not ever! You're dead to me! Do you hear me? Dead!" Sarah limped toward the door, leaving bloody footprints in her wake. Each step was a crimson accusation. My family sat frozen, fork still in hand, as if we were all part of some horrific tableau. At the threshold, she turned back one last time. Blood had soaked through her shoe, and tears streamed down her face, but her voice was steady. "I feel sorry for you, Mom. You're so blinded by what you wanted me to be that you can't see what I've become. I've spent my whole life trying to make you proud, but I realise now that nothing would ever be enough. Goodbye." The door closed with a quiet click that somehow sounded more final than any slam. I threw myself into work, volunteering for extra shifts at the restaurant where I still waited tables. 63 years old and still serving coffee to people half my age, my knees creaking with every step, my feet swollen in shoes I couldn't afford to replace. But at least I had my pride, right? At least I hadn't settled for enough. The house felt emptier with each passing month. Sarah's old room collected dust, her childhood photos staring at me accusingly from the walls. I'd catch myself picking up my phone to call her, then remembering I'd told her she was dead to me. Sometimes, late at night, I'd walk past her room and see the ghost of her hunched over her desk, studying, until her eyes burned. I'd hear the echo of her voice. "Mom, I'm tired. Can I please go to bed?" And my response, "Tired doesn't get you into Harvard." The first Christmas without her was the hardest. I cooked a full dinner out of habit, set the table for 20 and waited. No one came. I sat at the head of the table, surrounded by empty chairs and the ghost of my daughter's bloody footprints that no amount of scrubbing could fully erase. "This is her fault," I told the silence. "If she'd just listened to me." But even I was starting to have trouble believing my own lies. The second Christmas was worse. This time, I didn't bother cooking. I ate a frozen dinner in front of the TV, watching families celebrate together in holiday movies. Every happy ending felt like a personal attack. My health began to decline. The years of hard labour, poor diet and stress were catching up. I ignored the fatigue at first, blamed the swelling in my legs on long shifts. When the dizzy spell started, I told myself it was just dehydration. "You need to see a doctor," my manager said after I nearly fainted during the lunch rush. "I'm fine," I snapped. "I don't need some overpaid physician telling me what I already know. I'm old and tired." But I wasn't fine. The fatigue got worse. My ankles swelled so badly I could barely fit into my work shoes. My skin took on a greyish tint that makeup couldn't hide. Customers started asking if I was feeling all right, their concern making me angry. One morning, I woke up and couldn't get out of bed. The room spun when I tried to sit up, and my legs felt like they were filled with concrete. I reached for my phone to call in sick, but my fingers were too swollen to grip it properly. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. The emergency room doctor was young, probably Sarah's age. She ran tests with efficient compassion, her bedside manner reminding me painfully of what my daughter could have been. "Mrs. Chen," she said gently, sitting beside my bed, "your kidneys are failing, your eye, and stage 4 renal failure." The words didn't compute. "That's impossible. I'm healthy. I work full-time. The tests don't lie. Your kidneys are functioning at less than 20% capacity. Have you been experiencing fatigue? Swelling? Changes in urination?" All of the above, for months. But I'd ignored it, too proud to admit weakness. "What does this mean?" I asked, though I already knew. "You'll need dialysis immediately, and eventually you'll need a transplant. Without it..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. 2 years passed in a blur of dialysis appointments, medical bills, and crushing loneliness. 3 times a week, I sat in a sterile room while a machine cleaned my blood, surrounded by other patients who at least had family members to drive them home. I'd sold my car to pay for treatment. The house was next. I couldn't afford the mortgage on disability payments. I moved into a studio apartment that smelled like mildew and defeat. The transplant list was a joke. My blood type was rare. My age worked against me, and without family to test for compatibility, my chances were slim. The social worker suggested I reach out to relatives. "Any children?" she asked, reviewing my file. "No," I lied, the word burning my throat. But the lie couldn't save me. My health deteriorated rapidly. The doctor gave me months, maybe a year if I was lucky. Lucky. As if anything in my life had been lucky. Finally, desperately, I dialed Sarah's number. It had been 3 years since I'd heard her voice. My hands shook as the phone rang once, twice, 3 times. "Hello?" She sounded different, older, tired, professional. "Sarah. It's Mom." Silence stretched between us, years of hurt compressed into seconds. "What do you want?" Her voice was carefully neutral, like I was a stranger asking for directions. I explained my situation, the words tumbling out in a row. Kidney failure, transplant, life or death. Each word felt like swallowing glass. "I see," she said when I finished. "And you're calling me because you're my daughter." The words came out as a sob. "Because I need you." "I haven't been your daughter for 3 years, remember? You made that very clear. I'm dead to you." Your exact words. "Sarah, please." "Actually, it's Dr. Sarah Chen now." Her voice carried a hint of something, not quite pride, but satisfaction. "That engineering degree, I used it to develop a revolutionary water purification system. Ironically appropriate, don't you think? Considering you wouldn't let me have water at your table." My heart stopped. "Doctor?" "MIT gave me an honorary doctorate for my work. My system is providing clean drinking water to thousands of people in developing countries. The UN just approved funding to expand the program to 3 more continents. But you wouldn't know that, would you? Because state school engineers don't achieve anything meaningful, right?" The weight of my mistakes crashed down on me like a physical force. My daughter had become everything I'd wanted and more, just not in the way I'd demanded. She'd changed the world, saved lives, earned the title I'd craved for her. And I'd missed all of it. "Sarah. Dr. Chen, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Sorry because you're dying? Or sorry because you were wrong?" I couldn't answer. Both. Neither. Everything. The silence stretched between us, filled with 3 years of missed birthdays, ignored achievements, and a Christmas dinner that ended in blood. "I'll get tested," she said finally. "Not because you deserve it, but because that's who I am. The daughter you raised before you let pride poison everything. Sarah, I'll call the hospital tomorrow to schedule the test. Don't contact me again unless it's through the transplant coordinator." The line went dead. The test came back positive. Perfect match. Of course it was. She'd always been perfect, just not in the way I'd been able to see. The surgery was scheduled for the following month. I spent those weeks in a haze of dialysis and regret, writing letters to Sarah that I'd never send, apologies that could never undo the damage I'd caused. The night before the operation, Sarah visited me in the hospital. She looked successful, confident, everything I'd seen at that Christmas dinner, but had been too blind to appreciate. She wore a simple blue dress and carried a leather briefcase that probably cost more than I'd made in a month at the diner. "Thank you for coming," I whispered. She sat in the visitor's chair, maintaining careful distance. "The surgery is scheduled for 6 a.m. They'll take you in first for prep." "Sarah, I need to say..." "No." She held up a hand. "You don't get to apologize now when you need something from me. You had 3 years to say sorry. You had my whole childhood to say I love you instead of not good enough." "Then why?" I asked. "Why save me after everything?" She was quiet for a long moment, staring at the IV drip. "Do you remember when I was 8, and I found that injured bird in the backyard?" I nodded. She'd insisted on nursing it back to health, staying up all night to feed it with an eyedropper. "You told me I was wasting my time, that it would die anyway, that I should focus on my homework instead." She looked at me then, and her eyes were full of tears. "But I saved that bird. It flew away 3 weeks later. You never knew because you never asked." "I don't understand." "That's who I am, Mum. I save things. I fix things. Even things that hurt me. Especially things that hurt me. Because unlike you, I learned that love isn't conditional. It isn't based on achievements or meeting expectations. It just is." "I destroyed everything," I whispered. "No," Sarah said softly. "You destroyed what we had. But maybe we can build something new. Something better. After you heal." She stood to leave, pausing at the door. "Oh, and Mum, that water purification system I developed, it started with the science fair project you made me redo in junior year. The one that only got second place. Turns out second place ideas can still change the world." The surgery was successful. Sarah's kidney saved my life, literally and figuratively. But the real healing came after, in the quiet moments of recovery, when she'd sit beside my bed, sharing stories of her work, her life, the 3 years I'd missed. I learned that my daughter had not only succeeded, but had surpassed every dream I'd had for her. She'd just done it her own way. The water purification system she'd developed had won international awards. She'd been featured in Time magazine as one of the 30 under 30 who will change the world. The girl I'd called a failure was literally saving lives across the globe. "You know what the irony is?" Sarah told me one day, adjusting my IV drip with practiced ease. "I learned my compassion from you, the young you, the mother who worked 3 jobs to keep me fed. Somewhere along the way you forgot that love matters more than achievements." She was right. I'd become so obsessed with her reaching the top that I'd forgotten the climb was supposed to be together. "Tell me about your work," I said one afternoon, genuinely curious for the first time. Her face lit up, the same expression she'd had as a child when she talked about her science projects. "We're installing systems in Bangladesh right now. There's this village where children were dying from cholera every rainy season. Now they have clean water year-round. The mortality rate has dropped by 80%. That's amazing, Sarah." "It's what I always wanted to do, Mom. Help people, just not with a scalpel." We talked for hours. She showed me pictures on her phone, her accepting awards, her team installing systems in remote villages, children laughing as clean water poured from new taps. In every photo, she glowed with purpose and joy. "I met someone," she said quietly one day. "His name is James. He's a doctor, actually, pediatric surgeon." The irony wasn't lost on me. "Is he good to you?" "He's wonderful. He understands my work, supports it. We're getting married next spring." My throat tightened. Another milestone I'd miss? That's wonderful, sweetheart. I'd like you to come, she said carefully, if you're well enough. If you want to. You'd want me there? After everything? I want my mother there. My real mother. Not the woman who threw crystal pictures and cared more about titles than happiness. Can you be her? I'm trying, I said, and meant it. I'm trying to remember who I was before I got lost. Outro. The surgery was 6 months ago. I'm healthy now. Healthier than I've been in years, thanks to Sarah's kidney and the wake-up call that came with it. We meet for coffee every Wednesday, slowly rebuilding what I destroyed. Last week, she took me to see one of her water systems being installed at a local community centre in an underserved neighbourhood. I watched her explain the technology to fascinated children, saw their eyes light up when she told them they could be engineers too. You don't have to go to Harvard, she told one little girl, who reminded me painfully of young Sarah. You just have to want to help people and be willing to work hard. There are many paths to changing the world. I stood in the back, tears streaming down my face. This was my daughter, not a Harvard doctor, but something better. Someone who'd found her own path despite my attempts to force her onto mine. We're planning her wedding now. She asked me to help, tentatively, as if I might criticize her choice of flowers or venue. Instead, I told her whatever makes her hap. Pie is perfect. I'm learning, slowly, that my opinion isn't the only one that matters. You know what the real tragedy is? Sarah told me recently. If you'd just supported my dreams instead of forcing yours on me, we could have celebrated together. All those awards, all those achievements, you could have been there. We lost so much time. She's right. I missed 3 years of her extraordinary life because I was too proud to see that success comes in many forms. I nearly died bitter and alone because I couldn't accept that my daughter's dreams were as valid as my own. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just let her have that glass of water. Such a small thing, water. But then again, water is life. And my daughter, the one I tried to deny it to, ended up giving me both. To anyone watching who's let pride destroy a relationship, it's not too late. The words "I'm sorry" and "I was wrong" might be the hardest you'll ever say, but they're also the most powerful. Don't wait until you're dying to realize what truly matters. Because in the end, love isn't measured in degrees from Harvard or acceptance letters. It's measured in the willingness to give someone your kidney, even when they wouldn't give you a glass of water. My daughter saved my life twice, once with her kidney, and once by showing me that there's more than one way to be extraordinary. She didn't become a doctor like I demanded. She became something better. She became herself. And that, I'm finally learning, is the greatest achievement of all. Thank you so much for watching this story. If it touched your heart or made you think about your own relationships, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. We're working hard to reach 1,000 subscribers, and every single subscription brings us closer to that goal. Please hit that like button if this story resonated with you, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to choose between family, expectations, and your own dreams? How did you handle it? We'd love to hear your experiences. The biggest lesson from my story is this: love shouldn't come with conditions. When we try to force our children into moulds of our own making, we risk losing them entirely. Success has many faces, and sometimes the path we fear for our children leads them to greatness we never imagined. Remember, it's never too late to say, "I'm sorry and I was wrong." Don't let pride rob you of the people who matter most. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.